As our heroes try to escape the lair of the evil sorcerer, flames erupt, blocking their only exit. All right, welcome back to Traveling Dice. This is Jason. Today I have a terrain build for you. Focus on building a set of walls of fire. I have my D&D campaign in mind for this particular build. Next time one of my baddies decides to trap my heroes, I want to be able to throw something down on the table. So the first thing I was thinking about as I was doing this project was the segments and their lengths. So essentially I wanted to have segments that I could piece together to form really any length I want between 1 and 15 inches. So to accomplish this, what I did was I made a 1-inch piece, a 2-inch piece, a 3-inch piece, a 4-inch piece, and a 5-inch piece. So with those segments, I can go anywhere from 1 to 15 inches. I think this is nice because whatever you happen to be putting down on the mat, I don't necessarily want it to overlap and go further than the particular room, just because my walls happen to dictate that based on their size. So I wanted to be able to fit it in whatever section I happen to be using. I tend to be using something around 15 inches or smaller, I find, and that also kind of meshes well with the particular D&D spell. But, you know, you could use these techniques to really build various other types of walls as well. And when I was doing this project, what I was doing is taking a wooden dowel, a rectangular wooden dowel as the base. I wanted the base to be a little bit wider. I was hoping to have this kind of tapering effect as I actually started to sculpt the flames, whereas that ideally they would be wider at the bottom and kind of come to a narrower point. I also had pre-cut these particular strips of cardboard to match the lengths of my wooden dowels. And when I say 5-inch, 4-inch segments, they're actually a little shorter than that. I knew that the sides were going to also have some material added onto them. So I wanted them to, with the added material, to end up being about the proper size. If it's a little off, I'm not too worried about it. So I'm just super gluing these strips of cardboard down. I also made them kind of wavy at the top. I wanted to have some variation in the height. But just with the balsa wood and the cardboard, I think my height is a little over an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter approximately. All right, so once I get all my cardboard strips super glued on, I want to go and start sculpting, and I'm going to be doing this sculpting work with the hot glue gun. I actually don't use the hot glue gun all that much. I find that it's kind of messy. I don't like the wisps, but I thought for this it would provide me with that flame-like texture that I was going for. I think it's best to put the glue gun on the lowest setting for this. If you have multiple settings on your glue gun, I think you really want it to dry quickly as opposed to kind of merging back together. You want to see the lines of the various flames between them. So I think a low setting is the way to go on this. And I think multiple passes, just adding a little bit. I think I actually try to do this in too few of passes as I'm working on this. And although I'm pleased with the result at the end, I think it would have been a little bit better if I had gone slower and put on less material, let it dry, more passes. But I'm just working my way. I'm doing vertical strokes from the bottom to the top. And I'm being mindful to go all the way down to the bottom, but also try not to go past it too much. After I get these layers on, I do go back with the X-Acto knife and run it along the bottom so that I do have a flat surface at the bottom. I do want them to stand up. So I do this for all of the sections. The shorter sections are a lot harder. There's not as much area to hold. But yeah, I'm just going for this kind of flame-like technique. I recommend multiple passes having done this one time now. So at this point, I'm fairly pleased with where I'm at on the project. I have the texture along all the sides of the walls, but I look at the top of the walls and I'm not fully pleased there. I want more of like a flame tip coming off various sections of the walls where it just kind of looks a little just plain at the top. So I'm trying to add this with hot glue and kind of apply it upside down and kind of let it drip down a little bit. I got way better at this as I did a few of these sections, and my results gradually got better, but I found this process to be a little frustrating. Again, I have the glue gun at the lowest setting because I do want this to dry fairly quickly. There are a few times where as it starts to dry, I'm kind of picking at it a little bit with my fingers. You do want to be careful with the hot glue. You can burn yourself, but it was at such a low setting and it was drying fairly quickly that I was able to kind of pull at it a little bit and get some of these flame-like textures at the top. But this was my technique, kind of focusing at the top of the wall, wanting it to look like it kind of had this wavy, not uniform flame-like structure at the top. Overall, I think I sort of accomplished this, but this was kind of the area where I was experiencing the most frustration. Once all my hot glue dries, I prime these black. I think black is definitely the way to go on this. You're definitely not going to get your paint when you go to do your painting in all the recesses of the hot glue. But I thought that having the black in those deepest recesses would kind of have this scorched appearance for the wall. I use the Ceramcoat paints, which I purchased from Hobby Lobby. I'm a big fan of them, and essentially I'm going from a really dark red, and I'm just kind of dry brushing my way up to a light orange. And when I'm doing dry brushing on stuff like this, I really like just immediately going to the next color. I think it gives you a little bit of a blending effect as you're going. So I'm going through this dry brushing pretty quickly. I also tend to dry brush this kind of stuff and just let it get on my fingers. I don't know, you can wear gloves, but I'm using acrylic paints, so they're gonna wash right off. So I generally just let my hands get messy and then go and wash up after. But if you prefer to wear gloves, that's definitely, a good idea. As I'm doing this painting, I am allowing the darker colors to kind of be towards the bottom. And with each subsequent lighter layer, I'm going just a little bit higher up on the piece. Originally, I thought I would go just from the dark red up to kind of a light orange. But once I get to that stage, it still kind of looks like something's missing. I didn't think I was going to have yellow, but I looking at it, something just looks like it's missing. And I hit the top with a highlight of yellow, and it kind of all comes together at that point. You can see here the yellow color that I do go ahead and grab another Ceramcoat from Hobby Lobby, and just really kind of focusing at the top with this last little highlight. And this kind of made it pop a little bit and actually made me feel pretty decent about the project. I was kind of worried it was a little bit of a dud and it just wasn't quite popping. So I think adding that yellow element. Now, I don't really know if this is realistic, right? So I don't always put a ton of effort into like researching, well, is fire yellow at the top, or, the various colors that would naturally appear in a flame. I kind of just eyeball it and kind of look at it and see what feels right. And this definitely felt right as I was looking at the piece. And I think it will draw my player's eyes to the top of the piece, which I think kind of has the coolest features anyways. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing this build. It is a great introductory project if you're just kind of dipping your toe into the crafting of terrain for your D&D or other tabletop games. Definitely one that I think is a good first project, or just adding to your arsenal if you're looking for some additional spell effects. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. It helps a lot, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.